Hey everybody, welcome to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. I'm Mike Catalana. Thanks for being with us here as we talk about the Bills and the Steelers opening up the 2021 season. And what I'm going to have for you is 5 Steelers to watch in the game in Orchard Park and how that relates to what the Bills will be looking to do. Hey, remember to subscribe, comment, and like to our channel. We've got some great content on there. Dan, Jenna, and I with our latest podcast where we predict the season and how far the Bills will go. I think you'll like that. Dan Fates with a great story on Tre'Davious White and his rise from high school quarterback. Wait till you see that video into the all-pro cornerback that he is. That's all here on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel, and we appreciate everybody who goes to it. All right, let's go with the 5 players that we're going to be watching for the Steelers in this game in the matchup against the Bills on Sunday. And let's start with the guy who just got paid, and TJ Watt. We know he's a great player. Now, he's a better player than his brother, certainly at this time in his career, and he's shown that through the NFL. Now, the Bills have matched up against him the last 2 years, both late in the season. Watt really not a big factor in the game last year in Orchard Park, where the Bills ended up winning, taking care of things in the second half. He did have half a sack in the game in Pittsburgh. If you remember, in 2019, that was the game which the Bills clinched a playoff spot. Watt getting paid, he deserves to get paid. Unique circumstances of what they had going in Pittsburgh, where he was not holding out. I think it had been described as holding in, where he was there doing individual work. That's a weird thing for teams to go through. They don't want to criticize their top player, certainly top defensive player, but at the same time, he wasn't all in on playing until he got a deal done. Then Ben came out fully supporting his teammate, probably made it a little tougher on management. And then you heard the stories about Watt just basically going in and saying, we got a deal, let's get it done. So however they worked it out, it's $80 million guaranteed. TJ Watt should be pretty fired up going out on the field. I think he'd be ready to play the Bills anyhow. What are they going to do with him? And they do like to move him around. We know this about the Steelers. They've made a lot of changes on that defensive line. But I think the Bills' offensive line is going to get tested right away, right? Depending on where Watt lines up the majority of the time. Deion Dawkins really interesting when he's over top of Deion, because it was a strange preseason coming off of COVID for Deion. I think he's looked good. I think he looked pretty healthy in the preseason, especially for what he went through with the hospitalization due to COVID. Again, I'm more concerned maybe with that interior of the Bills line when Watt gets in those positions, whether that's on stunts that they do on this D-line or whether it's just moving him around. The guards still being sort of determined by the Bills as to the exact starting lineup that they have. Mitch Morris has looked good. They've had him ready all during camp. That's certainly helpful, and Darrell Williams on the other side. So let's see how the Bills match up. But Watt himself is a talent, and Watt's going to want to make a big play, getting paid. That's what guys want to do. So not only are we watching for TJ Watt, but Brian Daboll and the Bills offense are looking for TJ Watt and how he can impact what the Bills are trying to do offensively. Staying with the defense, how about Joe Hayden? Now, he's not getting paid. He's in now a contract year, sort of a, he said, pay me. I want to get an extension. They haven't done that. I think they wanted to get Watt taken care of. Hayden's an older player, but he'll be out there on the field. He wasn't there in the game in Buffalo last year. And look, is he a all-pro player now? No. But he's still a talented player, and they miss him in that secondary. And when he wasn't out there last year, you may remember Stephon Diggs just took control, especially in that second half. 10 catches, 130 yards. Diggs really was what got the Bills' offense going. Steve Nelson, another veteran, also he's gone. He's now in Philadelphia. So their secondary is a little bit different. So the guys we're going to watch include Hayden is a guy you want to see. He's got Cam Sutton with him too. I think there's very few players in this league who match up one-on-one, right? Even the Bills don't always do that with Tre'Davious. We'll talk about that in a minute at his talent level. The days of it being Deion and he lines up on a guy and that's who they cover the whole time are done. So they will move players around. But I think Hayden is a guy, do you want to see what he brings to that secondary? Obviously, it corresponds with the type of pass rush Pittsburgh is getting. But the Bills secondary got free. or the Bills wide receivers got free last year, like I said, especially in that second half. So let's see how Hayden plays. Let's see how Pittsburgh's defense plays. He's got Minka Fitzpatrick, who's a playmaker at safety. That helps any corner. But I think Hayden is a key guy. Everybody's trying to prove things, right? So we say he's in a contract year. You know who else is? Stephon Diggs. And you think about it, because Diggs had his contract reworked, but it kind of sets up where they're going to redo his deal next year. And I think if he comes anything close to what he did last year, Diggs is going to be putting up big numbers, not just for the Bills, but at his bank account too. So, yes, it's big for Joe Hayden and the Pittsburgh defense. But while I'm watching him, I want to see how the Bills secondary or Bills wide receivers react. Najee Harris. I did a story on our newscast on 13 Wham. You can see it on BuffaloPlus.com on this guy. He's a talent. He did say this week he enjoys playing on the road. And a lot of players feel this way. They like to go there, and then they like to, as he said, I believe, silence the crowd. That's good. He's been on the road as an Alabama player. I don't believe the guy's lost a game in a couple of years. This is the NFL. It's a little different. Bills Mafia will be ready for Najee. And it wasn't, some people saying bulletin board material. Look, Bills players will say the same thing. They like to go in and quiet a crowd, right? That's what you want to do. That's the whole idea. So the fact that he said that, it's no big deal. I mean, he's had that Alabama team with him. Now, Pittsburgh's a pretty good team, but when Alabama came into a stadium, they were the better team. Probably every time they took the field. So home or away, it didn't really matter. I think he's an impressive guy. I enjoy listening to him speak in his news conferences. Bright, likes to have a little give and take with the reporters. He's a big kid. He's 240 pounds, and he can move. I mean, we're not talking about a big lumbering back. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. It's funny, they asked him about drops. He's like, yeah, I dropped a few. It's part of the game, like missed tackles, every other thing. Very interesting to hear when Leslie Frazier was talking about him. He talked about his vision. He said he's a kid that sees the hole, and when it's not there, can find those cracks in your defense. He's strong. He can get to the end zone. I think they're going to use him. I think they're going to use him a lot. I think it's going to be very interesting to see, and we'll talk about Ben in a minute. Ben was in the shotgun every snap last year. I wonder if they put him behind center. It'll be interesting to see if they do that. That's not really where Ben spends a lot of time these days, but they didn't really have a back. So let's see what they do on Sunday. But Harris is big. He's strong. He's fast. He can get to the end zone. And I think he's going to be a big part of this Pittsburgh offense. They've got another rookie, Pat Friermuth. He's a Penn State guy. And Penn State tight ends, look at Gesicki, the kid in Miami, who's burned the Bills. Now, look, they still have Eric Ebron here, but Friermuth is a guy that can run, gets open in the seams, has developed a little bit with Roethlisberger. I'd have to go back to remember, but I know he did have 2 touchdowns in a preseason game. I think it was the game against the Lions. He's one of those guys, right? And the Bills, we know, they've struggled with covering tight ends. And we'll see how they match up with, he and Ebron when they're on the field. But he's a guy I think that they like a lot. They invested highly in the draft in him. And I think he's a guy you want to watch out for. We've been thinking about that with the Bills against tight ends for a while. You remember early in last season, when the Rams got after him with the tight ends, second game of the season. And so that's something I want to watch too. That tight end dynamic against the Bills. Obviously the Bills, get more of a pass rush, all those kind of things. But it'll be different to see how Pittsburgh plays with their offense this year with a new coordinator. And teams, look at the teams that can run 2 tight ends out there that the Bills are going to see, whether that's in Miami, New England, and certainly, with Pittsburgh on Sunday for the first game. So let's see how he matches up. Deontay Johnson, hot and cold kind of guy, right? When he makes a play, it's usually a big play. He's also had some drops. Like, that's who he is. He's sort of a volatile player. If you're a Steelers fan, there are times he just drives you nuts. But he can get open. You would think a lot of times they'll try to get him maybe matched up with Levi. Again, I say this, teams will move players around. They have a lot of talent at the wide receiver position. Juju is going to be out there catching balls. They also have with Smith-Schuster, Chase Claiborne, James Washington, right? They've got talent at the wide receiver position. But Deontay Johnson is one of those guys I think can get deep, can find seams, and I'll be curious as to how often Trey White is on him. Levi has won the job. I knew Levi was going to win the job because he's going to be a guy you're going to have to pry out of this starting lineup. You're going to have to draft a corner in the first or second round going forward to legitimately say we want Levi out of there. But again, they're going to target him. That's the way it's going to go. We know that. But Pittsburgh's got a lot of guys, a lot of them, that can catch the ball. That wasn't their issue last year. They have a lot of wide receivers, and Ben threw it a ton. But their issue was they were one-dimensional, and Roethlisberger was out of shape. Now, to my fifth guy, and it's Ben. 2 years ago when he didn't play against the Bills, he was hurt. He just sat there with that big beard and on the sidelines all bundled up while we watched Duck Hodges try to play against Buffalo. That was the playoff clinching. Last year, he got him off to a decent start, and then he threw that pick six to Taron Johnson, changed the whole game around, and then the Bills took control in the second half. He did have some scores, but the Bills did a really good job against them. Now, Ben says he's healthy. Ben says he's in shape. I think he just shaved the beard to lose a little weight. Maybe I'm wrong. He did start to look like an offensive guard after a while. 18 years in the league. In the old days, and I mean before Brady decided to play until he's 60, Ben would be at the end, right? You look around, these guys are all, Eli's done, Rivers is done, Breeze just quit. Like, they're all done. Brady's going, probably he'll never stop. Roethlisberger's near the end. We know that, right? It's even long for players years ago to go this long. 18 seasons, all with one team. It's kind of funny during the whole TJ Watt thing when he said he took less money to help the team. He took less money because I think they might have cut him under that contract. And maybe I'm being a little abrupt. Maybe Pittsburgh wouldn't do that. But at a certain point, they're going to, cut ties with Ben. He's still talented. He can still make throws. He does like to hang in there. But let's see what that Bills pass rush can do. I think that team's going to be fired up. Buffalo, we're talking about here, to get to the quarterback. What was missing last year, and everybody makes the point about how it helped offenses, and it did. That noise in Orchard Park is something that can greatly help the Bills pass rush. I'll go back to years ago. Bruce Smith was just at Bills camp, and just brings back those memories. I'd be down there on the field. Bruce would be lining up just with that quick twitch movement, and that tackle was scared to death because he is so fast coming off the edge, and that noise made it difficult to hear. And Bruce would just lock in, and when that ball was snapped, most of the time he had the guy beaten off the snap. Only a guy like Marino got rid of it quickly enough. Most of the time, Bruce was just making people's life miserable. So it'll be interesting to see. Bruce Smith is not on this Bills team. Okay, I didn't say Greg Rousseau was Bruce Smith, or even, you want to talk about, the current guys. But, at the same time, I do think Rousseau's going to have a role. And I think he gets to the quarterback on Sunday. I think that's the way this rookie's going to start his career. He's going to get to Ben once on Sunday. So let's see what ends up happening. But Roethlisberger is an interesting guy. And I think about the intangibles in this game, and a lot is on the Bills, in the Bills' favor. They're home. They're confident. They got everybody back. They can't wait to see you at the game. They want the crowd there. But for Pittsburgh, it's funny that they're a little under the radar right now. People are picking Cleveland, certainly. Baltimore, even with their injuries, is a talented team. And Pittsburgh's sort of been that team that's been forgotten. Now, maybe they'll earn that all year. Maybe Pittsburgh will just be that team. Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. I don't know if he's going to have one this year. I personally think they're closer to a 500 team this year, but hey, they may surprise us. They may surprise us in week one. My pick is on here, but I'll give it to you again. Bills 34, Steelers 20. Bills offense gets off to a good start right away and controls the game, and the Bills start 1-0. But you can see all of that the podcast, everything else with Dan, Jenna, and myself, please check it out here on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. I'll be at the game. Jenna's with me tomorrow. She'll be on the sidelines. Complete coverage of what the Bills are doing from Orchard Park right here on Buffalo Plus on YouTube. That is our channel. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you again next time here on Buffalo Plus.